follicles, finance, and a fresh hairline. In this episode, we ask, is it money well spent or cash down the drain?
I got a hair transplant. Yes, we are back in your life, but today we are talking about how I got a hair transplant, follicles and all, plus finance, how much it cost, why I did it, and linking it towards your financial plan.
Yeah.
Today's a little bit different, Mike.
It is a little bit different. I want to start by asking you, James, why are we doing this episode? Because some people might look at this and go, absolute vanity play from you now that you look so good.
Oh, just like the Pantene sponsorships come at me. Herbal
essences, they got you.
I was thinking about not doing this episode because it is a big cost, which we'll talk about, and I don't want this to be unrelatable. But then I had a few male clients who also watched the podcast who was like, you definitely need to do a podcast on this because 50% of men bald, and I think hair transplants are something that's becoming more common.
Yeah.
So to talk about my experience with it, and not just the did it hurt, how long did it take, all that kind of stuff, but a lot more around the numbers of it.
Yeah. A lot more common. As someone who's flown in and out of Istanbul airport, I think 3 or 4 times, I can tell you it's pretty common.
Yeah. So it's something I've been thinking about doing for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at your face on podcasts and on reels on the daily and you're like, oh, you balding mofo, we need to. I was like, I'm either shaving this all off and we'll get Em to bring up a picture of what it looked like beforehand.
Don't do that. Before. I see the funny thing is beforehand, maybe it's because I see you 90% of the waking hours of the day, every day. I wasn't really, until you said it to me, I hadn't really thought about it.
People get very good, I think, with the things they don't like, working out ways to cover them up.
Yeah.
And your boy had what we technically would call a bird's nest. So I think there was about 3 birds living in there, actually. And it worked well a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Unless it got windy, unless it rained, I was in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Or like it got to the point that like if I was going for a swim, I'd be thinking, oh, I don't want to get my hair wet and those sort of things.
Yeah.
And it's actually got nothing to do with anybody else. I think I've got a lot to do with how you perceive yourself and feeling confident as you walk down the street.
I relate to that because I used to smile like this. Like when I was on camera, and for everyone who's listening and can't see that, I used to not show any teeth when I smile. My natural smile, I am full teeth, absolute goober. Right. Like, and I can't help it. And my teeth were jacked and I was super self-conscious about them.
Yeah. So what we're going to do today is talk about the numbers for the hair transplant. Mike's going to talk about the numbers for his, what is it called?
Invisalign.
The numbers for Mike's
I didn't go get the turkey teeth. Thank you very much.
Yeah. The numbers, what is that like within the teeth community, you judge different types of teeth?
I think within the teeth community, you definitely judge the Essex wearing a tracksuit, don't actually need the lights on in the room during their TikTok because the teeth are so white and so fake.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But you haven't done that.
No.
So we're gonna
the
talk
au naturel, baby.
So we're gonna talk about the numbers for each, and then the biggest part is how does that work within your financial plan? Because we are all about buying properties, paying down debt, growing your wealth, achieving financial freedom, and these big costs, they slow you down from being able to do that, right, Mike?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I'm doing some renos on my home at the moment, and I take the renos aside, I could easily chuck that money on the mortgage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I got the hair transplant done strategically just before Christmas. So I had a month of like nobody at work seeing me, no podcast. You will have noticed in December I came back and I had like no hair.
Really? I
did you pick that up? No. So I went in December. I went to Sydney instead of Turkey. Turkey's probably a quite commonplace. I get asked a lot of questions around why did I go to Sydney instead of Turkey. A few different reasons. One is it just made me feel a little bit more comfortable going to Sydney opposed to Turkey, although I hear Turkey's quite credible and do a really good job.
Yeah.
The second thing is I've got a 2.5-year-old, and 2 things. One, I didn't want to be away from him for too long, and I certainly didn't want to take him on a 30-hour flight either. That would have been chaos.
Oh man, can I imagine Cooper running around the mean streets of Istanbul, there would be chaos.
Yeah. And the third part is around the cost, that because we only decided to do it in September, that it was once with the flights pretty much at Christmas time, it wasn't that big of a difference.
Yep.
So the procedure cost me about $16,000 for the procedure.
Yeah.
Plus flights, which I think were about $1,000, plus accommodation, which was, I think we stayed in Bondi, which, because I was like, if I'm doing this, and I'm recovering for a few days, I want to be somewhere nice. So I think we spent another like maybe $1,500.
And I want to point out a quick point here. James is saying we. So get this, right? James didn't announce to anyone that he was going to get a hair transplant, but we were talking about, amongst it in the SLT. And one of our other SLT members was like, stuff it. I'm going to go do it with James as well. So it just kind of goes to show that like a lot of people are really self-conscious about this stuff. And like he was just looking for an opportunity, something to get him over the edge to do it. And James, it was you.
Yeah. So we went together, which was actually quite nice. So just a little bit about the actual procedure on the day. So you get there at about 6 a.m. and you spend the first thing they do is they shave your head.
Is that confronting?
It's very confronting. There's there's no going back now.
Yeah.
I got to say, a lot of men go like, would I look good with a shaved head or not? It's a big question. Yeah. You don't really know. And I was like, this is a pretty bloody good backup plan. I did not mind myself with a shaved head. And I was like, do I still want to spend this money? Or should I just rock the Andrew Hicks and Jeff Bezos and go bold?
I shave my head once a year, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah. No, you look good with a shaved head, especially with the mustache on top as well. Yeah. So you get there, they shave your head, then you go face down for about 4 hours, and they numb the back of your head, and they like each follicle, they pull out one by one by one. I think from memory, it was like 3,800 follicles they pulled out. Now you want to, you won't worry about this, Mike, because of your luscious locks. They're not going anywhere. Thank you, Chris and Viv.
Yeah.
But they look for the juicy ones. So the juicy ones are where one follicle has 2 or 3 hairs in it, because obviously then like it's a double or a triple whammy. So that part of the day was quite uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Then you have
What were you watching on TV? Something to watch? Anything to watch?
Nothing, because I'm face down for the first 3 hours.
Yeah, but like when I'm at the dentist or the optometrist, they have a TV on the ceiling.
Nothing on the floor. So I'm sitting there. That was the worst part.
Yeah.
And in hindsight...
Game Boy?
Pardon?
Game Boy?
Nothing. Just lying there. And like when they put in the... They put in the needles in and they go like, can you feel things? At the start, in hindsight, I wish I was more pedantic about it because it did get quite uncomfortable towards the end. But really, you can't feel that much. And then the second half of the day is fine because I was watching the cricket for like 4 or 5 hours. Australia absolutely destroying India. Besides Jasprit Bumrah doing his thing.
Yeah, classic.
And that was easy. So I had two nurses, and they just like had trays of hairs, and for 5 or 6 hours, they're like one at a time.
So they just like whack them in.
Yeah.
Or do they cut and then whack them in?
Do we want specifics?
Just give me some brief specifics. Okay. Because I'm like, I don't know. In my mind's eye, I imagine this like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon where like they pluck them all out, put them in some type of machine gun. You just go like that, and they're like, and just like nail them in.
Apple core is probably the best description. So what they do is they've got this very fine metal tool that is like a mini apple core.
Yeah.
And they core around the hair follicle, pull it out, and then they core at the top and put it back in. Huh. So the whole day was about 12 hours. And then you go home, you're all bandaged up. It's very obvious what's just happened to you. So you're not really wanting to go outside.
There's no hiding it.
Yeah. And AJ, who went with me, the man likes to go to a pub. He doesn't like to sit at home. And God bless him, on the second day, he was like, mate, should we pop to the pub? And I'm like, AJ, I am not going outside looking like this. But by about so I stayed in Sydney for 4 days, and about by day 10, all the scabs were kind of like ready to come off. And as soon as that happens and you can like wash them out, you're just waiting for it to recover. This is now about just over 4 months. So 4 months, like I was balding a lot through here,
and
then at the front. It's looking way better. And then the whole thing actually takes 12 to 18 months for the final product.
Yeah, it's looking good now. What's all-in cost end to end?
I'd say about 20K.
Yeah.
And you go, what is the return on investment? I now never think about my hair. And that is like the best return on investment. I would do it every day of the week. I want to talk about whether you should or shouldn't do it. But Mike, I'm keen to hear about your story with your teeth, and we'll do that after the break.
We spend a ton of time producing this content to help you better your financial future. It is completely free, but we ask one thing. If you could just subscribe to us on YouTube, give us a follow on Spotify, recommend us to your mates, that'd really help us out. Now, back to the show.
So Mike, tell me about the journey with your teeth, because just like me with my hair, I never even, we spent so much time together, I never even noticed anything about your teeth.
Yeah, so let's rewind a few years to when Mike was a little bit younger, and my mum was like, hey, do you want braces? And I wasn't a particularly recalcitrant child, but I was like, nah, I don't want that. And my mum was like, well, you're still stubborn as shit, so I ain't going to fight this battle. In hindsight, damn, I wish I did. So they weren't too bad, but I think over time I had found ways to smile without showing my teeth.
You're thinking about it.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah. And I smile pretty full on teeth, right? If I'm genuinely smiling at something. So if someone was like, oh, we'll take a picture, I would smile without showing my teeth, right? So it does really kind of play, like you say, it plays on your mind quite a bit. And especially, again, we're on camera quite a bit now. We're doing public appearances, public speaking. And yeah, it was just something that bothered me for quite some time. I had gone through my separation, or I was kind of going through my separation. And I was like, you know what? I've wanted to get this done for so long. You're looking at me like I'm going to blow up.
I'm just thinking, instead of getting a revenge body, you got revenge teeth.
But I was just kind of it is a tough time. And I was like, you know what, man, I just want to do something for myself. And I'm going to go do it. So about 12 months ago, I had been to a Invisalign person. I didn't really vibe with them. They were like, oh, the clinic's changing. It's kind of half a clinic. It's not this. We'll be down here. I'm not actually the person who does it. It's something. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of money for something I'm not 100% sure on. And then I went down to Lumino Dentist on down the middle of town on Custom Street in the HSBC Tower. Saw a guy down there, Keith Harper. Absolutely just nailed it, man, start to finish. So basically it was laid it all out for me. Was here's how much it's going to cost you. Here's the installments that you pay it in, because they don't charge you all up at once. And basically explain the procedure and what I could expect at the end. And he has delivered 100%. He absolutely nailed it. All in, I think it took about 6 months. And I think the cost, and it's funny, I was talking about this, he's like, don't say the cost because everyone costs completely different. But I got to do your dirty here, Keith. Sorry, mate. I think in the end it costs you $7 or $8 grand or something, right? And that includes the wires in the back. And I get these super sexy retainers that I put in at night sometimes, so they help. But yeah, it's I love them, man. I not only do I not think about my teeth, but I absolutely love them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point with the hair transplant as well, that prices do vary from person to person.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And my teeth weren't, people kept saying to me oh, I didn't even notice them before. And I'm like, yeah, but when I look at pictures, we had a billboard up on Ponsonby Road, and it's me, and I had my teeth done, but mostly finished, but the photo we used was still when I had jacked teeth.
Yeah.
And God damn it, man. I was like, can we not just use a more recent photo?
Yeah. I think so much of this is just how you feel about yourself, and coming back to whether individually, how do you factor these costs into your financial plan, which is us finally linking this back to how bread butter, is that money is just a tool to use now or in the future.
Yeah.
And when we think about a financial plan is just going, this is what I want my money to be able to do for me. And we talk about the home you want to live in, the lifestyle you want now, the ability to retire at a certain age, being able to help your kids. But then there's all these things on top of that, right? Like you might have a dream car, or you might want to buy a boat, or you might want to send your kids to private schools, or you might want to get a hair transplant, get your teeth done, or go on holiday, or whatever. And all of these costs are fine to do, but the big thing I would say is one is you can't be using loans or debt because it just will get really hard to get out of that circle and the interest costs and all of those sort of things. So I would definitely say if you are using those facilities, do not do it.
Yeah.
If you're using your mortgage and you're kind of paying it off and that you're just going backwards a little bit, I'm probably okay with that. What do you think, Mike?
When you've got a mortgage, everything is, do I put it on the mortgage or do I spend it? Like no matter how you frame that, the other option is, and the better option is always to put it on the mortgage, right? So technically I have a mortgage. I didn't pay it using finance. I paid it in cash and the installments that they required. But yeah, I'm effectively putting it on the mortgage. For something like that, it doesn't matter, right? It might be different if I was like, I'm going to go spend 200 grand on cosmetic surgery. That would be a very different story, right?
For sure. And I definitely think when it comes to, while this is well outside of our wheelhouse, there's a slippery slope potentially in here and spending too much money kind of constantly doing things. But I think that's probably outside
one of
our lane.
My favorite shows on TV is Botched. I love Botched.
I'm glad that my hair hasn't ended up on Botch. So the big thing I would say is spending money on these things is fine. You just have to be thinking about it. So go like, if I do this, like if you have no savings, you have debt and you just take on more debt. Horrible idea because you're never going to accelerate your financial plan to have options down the line if you're just living paycheck to paycheck. But if you've been disciplined for a while, you've got some wealth, hey, I can spend this lump sum and still be able to achieve all of my goals, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Even in a scenario where this thing is important to you and it changes your ability to upgrade your home at a certain point or the age you can retire, whatever it might be. But this thing is that important to you that you're prioritizing that over these other goals. It's all fine. You just have to be thinking about it because every action has a reaction and we just need to make sure we're comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, really just to extend on that a little bit, it's about having the solid foundation. You've got to have the emergency fund in place. You've got to have the budget in. We've got to be paying down the mortgage. If all of that is in place, and it's not, and doing the thing isn't going to impact that in a really negative way, rock and roll.
So this is a little bit of a different episode from us today. So I'm really keen to hear in the comments how you found it. Do you both want to be like, hey, finance bros, stick in your lane? Or do you like these more kind of personal stories where we're sharing kind of what's happening in our life? Let us know. Please subscribe to the channel. Give us a review. Give us a like. And we'll catch you next time.
Cheers.